In this lesson, we're going to look at rounding numbers to either up to the nearest 10, the 50, the 1,000, the 100, whatever, and significant figures. The first thing I want to just say is the word estimate is really, really important in maths. So estimate. To estimate something is to kind of give a rough guess close enough to the answer that you'd expect to see. Now, a lot of the time, an estimation is almost as good as a correct figure. And the reason why this is true is because, say I look at a room full of people and someone asks me to give an estimate of the amount of people in that room. Let's imagine the actual number is about 570. It's a big room, a lot of people. I look at that room. If I gave an estimate of 100 people, that estimate would be really, really bad. But if I was to estimate the number to about 600, that's a very close estimate, and it wouldn't change too much the information that's been given to someone. So to understand that a number, if you are really stuck in a situation you don't know what answer to give, if you can give a good estimate that is something that you can tell is true, is close enough to the answer, you're better off than something that's a million miles away. That's just a little bit of an estimation. It's really important when we're thinking about maths, because you'll usually be able to tell if your answers are right or wrong if you can get used to the answers you're expecting to see. So the first thing with rounding is, say if we have the number 45, or 40, we'll go with something easy, 46, and we're asked to round it to the nearest 10. Well, because it's 46, it's above 45, it's 45 and above, we go up to 50. If it was 42, we'd actually go down to 40. And the one that people sometimes get confused with, if it's 45, it's stuck bang in the middle. We want to round that to the nearest 10. When we're on 5, round up. So it'll always go up to the 50. So no matter what, with a 5, it's always going upwards, and we never go back down from a 5. So they can also ask you to round to the nearest maybe 100. So if you had 750, the nearest 100 to that would actually be 800. Or, I don't know, 632 would go down to 600. So you're rounding down with those ones. That's nearest 100, that's nearest 10. You can also do nearest 1,000, but it's the same idea through and through and through. What's nearest 10, nearest 100. That's kind of the basic principle of it. There's nothing really too kind of crazy about it. When we're talking about significant figures, people sometimes get confused. If we have a number, say like 56,832, say that's our number, and they say give that to 3 significant figures. So 3 significant figures. Well, we have 3 significant figures. That means we need to kind of get these 3 numbers to the point that we're happy that it's closest to. It's like an estimation, but it's rounding a little bit. So what you do is you look at the first 3 figures on the left hand side, which is 5, 6, 8. Okay. And then you look at the next one. And the next one's a 3. And whatever that one is, that depends on whether we're rounding up or we're rounding down. So because that's a 3, we're going to round that 8 down. But we don't have to round it down because it's already on 8, if you get me. So you're rounding this here to either 800 or 900, depending on this 3. But it's 830, so we're actually going to stay on 800. So that's 56,800. If we were to do this to 2 significant figures, same number, kind of similar. you look at the first two numbers this time. So we look at 5, 6. Then we look at the 8. And depending on what the 8 is, we're going to round, or whatever this third number is. Sorry, I'll look here. Well, depending on what this third number is, we're going to round the 6 up or down. So the 8 is above 5. It's 5 and above. So we're going to take that 8 and we're going to change this 6 to a 7. It's going to become 57,000. So that's two significant figures. And it's pretty much the same over and over again. It's just a little bit of practice and getting used to looking at the numbers in different ways. But the most important thing to take from this is this idea of estimation, and to be able to get a good idea. So one kind of process that you might do, say if you had numbers such as, let's take random numbers, 213 plus 780 plus 690. Okay. And we want to get a good estimation of this. So let's round each to the nearest 100. So if we were to round 213 to the closest 100, it's just 200. 780 would become 800, and 690 would become 700. Now this sum is a lot easier to do than this sum. Now you'll probably say you could just stick it in your calculator, and that's great. But if you're in a rush or you just want to have a nice idea, you can do this really quickly. So I'm just going to add up the single numbers because it's quicker. 2 plus 8 is 10, and 10 plus 7 is 17. So that'll be 1,700. Is our rounded answer. So this is rounded. Now let's look at what we would actually get if we added those numbers together. So we get 213 plus 780 plus 690, which is 1,683, which is pretty close to 1,700, right? It's like you're 17 off. So the idea of rounding things and then adding them, it makes the adding a lot easier, and it gives you a much better answer. And if you're going to go about doing this one and you do something wrong and you get a completely wrong answer, then you'll know that you're gone wrong somewhere. So that's just a little bit about rounding, estimation, significant figures.